Hello and welcome everyone. Hope we're all doing alright. There was no chapter released last week due to it being Golden Week in Japan. So in place of a chapter review last week, I decided to upload a video where I attempt to explain to you guys what negators are. So if you want a bit of a deep dive into that aspect of the Undead Unluck power system, I recommend you check that video out. And if you do watch that video and it does pique your interest, you'll be happy to know that I do plan on making another video in a similar vein talking about what Umas are. And yeah, similar to the What Are Negators video, I'll just try and kind of go through everything that we know about them, and maybe try and string a couple theories together here and there. But anyway, we're here for a review of chapter 206 of Undead Unluck. This chapter is entitled Engage. Now the title can refer to a couple things in this chapter. One being that they are literally about to engage in battle, or two being something that turns up at the end of the chapter. I'm thinking it's more of the latter, but we'll get to that later. So yeah, this chapter starts off with the supernova explosion of last chapter. Language is again hyping up this last move of hers, saying it's the most destructive natural phenomenon in this world. Again, trying to play up the fact that nature is stronger than science. Basically her being a rule of nature, she's stronger than Nico, who is a man of science. Despite all this boasting from language, Feng actually says with his new secret technique that he'll be able to finish off Sun easily. He actually says that the supernova wouldn't stand a chance. And to be honest, I don't think Feng's really a guy to over brag about his ability. I know he wants to be the strongest and all that, but I don't think he'll overextend what he actually is. All I'm saying is I have no reason to doubt the man. Ever since he come in, he's been doing incredible things. I have no reason to doubt him. He's come back from death and learned so much now. So yeah, I feel like his perception is pretty high. I fully believe him when he says he could probably take on this supernova, which is pretty insane. But anyway, whilst he's saying this, he takes a look at Nico, and Nico is just kind of floating on his ball there, meditating, it kind of looks like. And I'm wondering if this is actually an homage to Naruto, because he looks kind of like he's doing Shikamaru's like thinking pose thing. He does with his hands, you know, he like just combines all the tips of his fingers together. But yeah, Feng sees him doing that, and then Feng wonders to himself, when did Nico learn how to focus his chi like that? And this got me wondering, what actually is chi in the Undead Unluck world? I think Feng's the only really guy to mention it, but I don't think we have a solid understanding of what it is as a concept in this world. Is it just the same thing as soul? Is it just kind of like the soul energy? Or is it a whole different Uma in itself? Because anything really can be an Uma in the Undead Unluck world. Maybe we'll learn a little bit more about it after the battle, because Feng does seem quite surprised that he even wonders if he was able to learn his method, Feng's method. He might ask Nico how he was able to focus his chi so well, and we might get a quick explanation of chi in the process of Nico explaining to Feng what he was doing. But anyway, back to the chapter. Ichigo just tells Feng that leave it up to Nico. In the state that he is right now, he will certainly bring us the right answer. And to be honest, if I was to choose between Feng's fists and Nico's intellect, I love Feng and all, but Nico literally has about 450 billion years worth of knowledge right now. I'm gonna go with that guy to pick the best option for me. Nico now seemingly comes up with something, and he attaches a soul link between his brain and Ichigo's brain. So it seems like he can now share information using these soul links between the brains between him and Ichigo, because next he says that this is something that their daughter cooked up in the last loop, and he shares the image of a weapon. So he starts to lay out the plan, and he says that they'll start by expanding on the image of science from the second turn, so that they can create the image that he sent over to Ichigo. So what he's doing right here is really clever, and it was a clever play from the start to add science as a word, because now they can expand on it and basically create a new weapon without having to use up their word resource. Nico tells Feng that he's pivotal for this weapon to work, and asks if he can count on his assistance. Feng says that he would like to say no, but Nico has helped him die and resurrect, leading him to a new state of mind, and he has to repay that debt. So he's deciding to do it right now in this battle. Now the plan kicks into motion, and Nico and Ichigo start to create this new weapon. And it's the Super Dreadnought Union Lethal Weapon Superior Buster Soul version. Honestly, I forgot how goofy and long the name was, and I guess that was Nico's daughter's naming scheme back in the day with her inventions. just super long and off the wall. So back in the last loop with this weapon, they actually used all of the Earth's energy to fire one blast and used Undercrease's ability to keep that blast perpetually going. And this weapon is basically like a mega railgun, but they say it's Soul version this time, so I'm assuming it'll be powered up using Fang's soul. That's why Nico said he was pivotal for this weapon, because he'll be the power source of it. Language tries to infer that their plan is for them to push both her and Sun off the planet to escape the explosion. She says that won't work though, because even if they're pushed off the planet, the explosion will be so large that they'll still get affected. She says that they can do nothing against this ultimate power of nature. But Nico basically says fuck all that shit and says fire. And an insane soul beam is launched from the Superior Buster into Sun. And Language is still talking some mighty shit, bro. She's saying that she's closer with Sun than she is with Luna, so her imagination of him is more solid. There's no way that they can beat Sun. She even goes as far as to say that they wouldn't even be able to knock him off the ground. She has some real confidence in Sun and her ability to imagine him at his strength. And again, Nico, as if he's saying fuck all of that noise you're talking right now, he just tells her he chooses a Spanish letter, A, and he uses the word agujero de gusano, which translates into wormhole. And we see a portal that opens up and connects to none other than the Master Room. And we see even Soul and Change just shocked about what they're seeing right now. Language even looks a bit shocked, and Fang notices that she's thinking of defeat. And he says, how can you even think of defeat whilst you're in a fight? And I guess this is where he decides to go full throttle, because we see the beam attacking Sun, and it suddenly gets larger and is able to actually push Sun into the wormhole. And I just want to say right here, this is an incredible feat, because it took the entire electricity of the whole planet to be able to stymie, as they said earlier in this chapter, God in the previous loop. Now I know this isn't a full version of him, like it's a version created by Language, but we even had her say in this chapter that this is a pretty strong image of what he actually is. So for Fang to be able to not only push him back, but launch him is an insane feat right now. And like I've said previously, this has given some real hope that they'll actually be able to battle against God at the end of this last loop. Now we head back to the chapter, and in the Master Room table, Soul tells everyone to just stand back and that he'll handle it, and to give some fair play to the rules. Although he does look a bit shook up right now, Soul does say he'll be able to handle it, which is quite an impressive feat in itself, that he's able to manage this supernova somehow. The wormhole now begins to close, but before it does, Language tells Soul that she's sorry and she's lost. She's admitted defeat at this point. And there's this small panel where Soul looks kind of sad. Again, we're getting some emotion to these Umus. They're not just these bloodthirsty, I want to terrorize human beings that we thought they were. In the next panel, we just see Language take an immense amount of damage. Blood is spurting out of her arms, her face, her eyes, just everywhere. It looks like her insides were exploded. Nico explains that the image of Sun that she conjured up has died in the other subspace, and as a result, all that damage has been transferred over to her. So Sun becoming a supernova obviously killed it, and it was kind of like a suicide attack from Language in the first place. And because of her image of Sun was so powerful and strong, she's taken a huge amount of damage. They all now mosey up to Language, and Nico tells her this next turn truly will be the last. If she uses a word to try and heal herself, he'll just use a word that will kill her quicker than she can heal. And he asks her, does she still want to continue? And she says, of course, she's been waiting for 4.6 billion years. And I kind of respect this from Language. She's been wanting to smoke for 4.6 billion years. She's not going to duck from it now that she looks like she's going to lose. She wants to enjoy her game till the very end, I guess. Nico accepts this and says okay. He then decides to add the Lithuanian language, and then decides to use the word Aradavaris. And he conjures up a spear, and he says the spear has a lethal poison and that this is checkmate. I'll just have to trust him on this one about what the spear is, because I tried to look it up and couldn't really find anything about it. Now it's Language's turn to choose a word, and the word she chooses is obstructed and we don't really get to see what she says, but Nico looks shocked by it. And at the same time, Fuko and the rest of them are flying in on the Nimbus, and they're trying to warn him about something, and she says language is, but he gets cut off, and in the next panel we see Language just fading away. And it turns out before they were even able to stab her, she used a word that ended with the Japanese letter N. So she really went out on her own terms. Nico asked Ichiko if she really wants to do it, Santoka, which seems to be the word that language used, because in Japanese it seems to be kekon, which ends with the Japanese letter N. And at the end of the chapter, we see some rings on their fingers, which must be what she manifests at the end of... Oh, yeah, and in English, it does translate to marriage. I just realized I didn't actually say that. But yeah, that is why there's rings on their fingers at the end of the chapter. And I'm wondering now, are these things from Shiritori just gonna stay existing? Will Nico keep the spear? It looks like it's disappearing as well, but she made the rings for them. Why would she just make rings for them that will just instantly disappear? Or maybe it's a special thing, the last thing that's conjured up stays, or if she dies and conjuring up the last thing, it'll just stay, but who knows? Maybe the rings will stay, maybe they won't. But that is the end of the chapter. And that is also the end of the language arc. I loved it. It was awesome. The Deadly Shiritori made for some interesting, creative action. And Fang, I love Fang, bro. He is awesome. I love the battle-hungry characters, like I've said before. And we really got to see him show out. And not only that, we really have access to a new level of power in this universe. Because now that language is gone, Fuko can now focus on what she wanted to do before, and that is tell everyone else about souls and how to access their previous negators. So yeah, now I think we're about to enter a new training arc of Undead Unluck. Maybe it'll be pretty brief, be pretty short. Like there'll probably be some kind of like time skippy kind of thing, like a few months for them to like really learn about the abilities. But yeah, this whole soul aspect of it has unlocked a lot of different potential. Like even in this chapter, Nico is able to transfer over information using a soul link between brains. So yeah, all our characters have a lot to build upon now. But that is all for me for today, folks. Thank you for watching this video if you made it this far, and I'll see you later.